Assalamualaikum, salam hormat, anda menyaksikan Niaga Awani bersama saya Harits Asyraf. Dan untuk waktu ini saya nak mulakan laporan Niaga Awani berkenaan dengan sidang kemuncak ASEAN yang semakin sibuk sebenarnya pada ketika ini, persiapan akhir di mana sidang kemuncak ASEAN ke-46 dilihat kunci untuk menghidupkan semula perkongsian ekonomi komprehensif serantau ataupun RCEP dan perdagangan bebas melibatkan negara anggota. Bagaimanapun, pakar ekonomi Profesor Jomo Kwame Sundaram berkata, negara-negara ASEAN berdepan cabaran susulan kerjasama tiga negara besar di Asia seperti China, Korea Selatan dan Jepun tidak kukuh terutama dalam ASEAN Plus 3. ASEAN Plus 3 merupakan kerjasama negara anggota ASEAN dengan China, Korea Selatan dan Jepun.
And here I'm referring to something which we often popularly refer to as ASEAN Plus 3. Which has a concrete embodiment in the form of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. Okay? Have you heard about any meetings about the RCEP? No, because the RCEP has made a lot of commitments, but in very general terms. There is very little momentum, and the main reason why there's been little momentum is because until fairly the Northeast Asians couldn't get their act together. Depending on who was president of Korea, the Koreans either resented China or resented Japan.
RCEP yang merupakan perjanjian perdagangan bebas adalah kunci pertumbuhan ekonomi bagi Asia Tenggara dan rantau sekitarnya. Untuk rekod, RCEP mula berkuat kuasa pada 1 Januari 2022 melibatkan 10 negara anggota ASEAN dengan Korea Selatan, Jepun, China, Australia dan New Zealand. Tambah Jomo, sidang kemuncak ASEAN ke-46 adalah masanya untuk menetapkan agenda baharu demi kemaslahatan politik dan ekonomi masa hadapan.
Okey, baik. Sudah tentu kalau kita nak bercakap berkenaan dengan ASEAN ini, ianya mungkin akan sedikit sebanyak memberi impak kepada pergerakan saham Malaysia, Bursa Malaysia, FBM-KLCI. Sudah tentu untuk waktu ini saya nak terus saja bersama dengan saudara Imran Yassin Mat Yusof, Ketua MIDF Research. Imran, terima kasih sudi bersama dengan Astro Awani. Ramai tengah work from home. Saya percaya Imran juga mungkin tengah work from home sekarang ini. Ramai orang KL nak mengelak masuk Kuala Lumpur. Tapi sudah tentu kalau kita bercakap berkenaan dengan ASEAN, bagaimana mungkin Imran pertama sekali merumuskan terlebih dahulu prestasi pasaran saham pada minggu ini, Imran?
Assalamualaikum Harits dan selamat pagi. Jadi minggu ini FBM-KLCI jatuh dalam lingkungan 3% selepas prestasi yang memberangsangkan minggu lepas. Ini selari dengan prestasi pasaran saham serantau. Dow Jones jatuh 1%, S&P 500 jatuh 1.3%, Thailand 1.8%, Singapura jatuh 0.4%. Jadi apa yang kita lihat minggu ini, faktornya lebih kepada faktor luaran. Pertama, pada hari Jumaat minggu lepas, downgrade Moody's kepada rating pinjaman kerajaan Amerika Syarikat kepada AA1 dari AAA lah. Jadi ini menyebabkan kegusaran oleh pelabur dan membuatkan pelabur mengambil langkah lebih berjaga-jaga lah, apa kita panggil risk off. Dan keduanya mungkin selepas trend kenaikan yang mendadak minggu lepas, selepas Amerika Syarikat dan China ada gencatan senjata perang perdagangan mereka, pelabur mengambil langkah untuk mengambil keuntungan untuk minggu ini.
Ya, Imran, sudah tentu juga kalau kita nak meneliti keadaan pasaran masih lagi, saya percaya tidak menentu, boleh disifatkan sebagai tidak menentu pada ketika ini. Mungkin minggu lepas nampak terdapat trend pemulihan, tetapi minggu ini pasaran saham kembali merudum. Mungkin apa sebab kepada situasi yang tidak menentu ini, dan juga mungkin pada jangkaan Imran, bila kita boleh lihat keadaan kembali tenang ataupun stabil di pasaran Malaysia ini?
Satu sebab utama adalah faktor luaran lah. Satu daripada dia tarif yang dikenakan oleh Amerika Syarikat. Walaupun kita ada pause untuk 90 hari, tapi telah memberi kejutan kepada pelabur. Masalah kepada tarif ni adalah impaknya tidak boleh diketahui kan. Jadi pelabur mengambil sikap yang berjaga-jaga. Kemudian ada sedikit berita baik akan melibatkan sentimen positif, tapi sentimen ini tidak mampan, tidak kekal lama. Seperti kita lihat minggu lepas dan minggu ini. Sebab underlying issue dia masih ada. Dan isu tarif ini berkait rapat dengan isu pertumbuhan ekonomi. Dan isu pertumbuhan ekonomi akan menjadi persoalan. Lebih lagi dengan ketidaktentuan impak tarif ini. Jadi mungkin tahun ini adalah mungkin tahun yang tidak menentu, maksudnya volatile. Selagi isu tarif itu masih ada lagi. Jadi semua bergantung kepada isu tarif. Jadi selepas isu tarif ini ada sedikit keselesaian, mungkin kita akan lihat ada sedikit ketenangan di dalam pasaran saham.
Ya, Imran, seperti yang saya sebutkan tadi, persidangan ASEAN ini yang akan bermula pada Isnin minggu hadapan ini dan Malaysia selaku tuan rumah, pada pendapat Imran, adakah ASEAN sebenarnya boleh memberi impak positif kepada ekonomi dan juga pasaran saham melihat kepada terutamanya dalam prospek yang cukup baik rantau ini yang dilihat, rantau yang paling tenang dalam dunia global pada ketika ini, Imran?
Ya, memang I think in terms of prospect memang rantau ini menjadi satu prospek yang amat baiklah. Tapi apa yang kita boleh jangkakan ialah impaknya mungkin bukan pada masa terdekat ini. Umpamanya ekonomi dan pasaran saham akan masih lagi bergantung kepada geopolitik dan isu-isu seperti tarif yang saya cakapkan tadi. Apa yang kita boleh harapkan adalah kepada jangka sederhana dan panjang. Dan pasaran saham akan bergantung kepada impak ekonomi lah daripada ASEAN ini. Jadi prospek yang cerah jika ASEAN dapat bersatu dan mempercepatkan integrasi ekonomi dan perdagangan negara-negara ASEAN, di antara negara-negara ASEAN. Kalau kita lihat intra-ASEAN trade ni untuk Malaysia adalah lebih daripada 30% daripada ekspor Malaysia adalah antara kepada negara-negara ASEAN. Dan ini memberi satu prospek di mana ASEAN mungkin boleh mengemudi perang perdagangan yang sedang berlaku. Jika ASEAN bersatu dan kebanyakan perdagangan berlaku di antara negara ASEAN, jadi kita boleh isolated lah sikit, dan juga boleh memberi satu orang kata blok perdagangan yang kuat di mana kita boleh berbincang dengan pihak Amerika Syarikat umpamanya atau China sebagai satu blok untuk memperkuatkan lagi prospek kepada ASEAN.
Ya, mungkin Imran, kita nak meneliti juga melihat dari segi jangkaan. Apa mungkin jangkaan Imran melihat kepada prestasi pasaran saham buat masa terdekat ini, mungkin dalam short term dan juga mungkin mengakhiri second quarter, bagaimana pergerakannya, Imran?
Jadi kalau masa kita lihat keadaan masih lagi tidak menentu lah. Tetapi kalau kita lihat dari segi fundamentalnya, dia masih lagi kuat, masih lagi utuh. Umpamanya kita masih lagi, MIDF Research masih lagi menjangkakan ekonomi Malaysia boleh berkembang sebanyak 4%. Jadi apa kelemahan yang ada sekarang banyak bergantung kepada situasi daripada minggu ke minggu. Jadi kita saya cakap tadi akan masih lagi akan volatile. Tetapi apa yang kami lihat perlu ada satu catalyst dan juga kesudahan pada isu tarif. Jika ini berlaku, pasaran saham kami menjangkakan akan melonjak naiklah. Jadi untuk target tahun ini kita targetkan FBM Kaoosji pada paras 1590. Mungkin dalam 1-2 minggu ini kita mungkin akan lihat ada sedikit kelemahan mungkin minggu hadapan, tetapi pada satu tahap yang mungkin nampak valuation dia atraktif untuk pelabur dan mungkin kita akan lihat ada sedikit pemulihan. Tetapi ia akan berlega dalam the range of apa yang kita ada sekarang lah.
Okey, baik Imran, sudah tentu banyak yang kita nak jangkakan, termasuklah bagaimana mungkin hasil pertemuan, kerana ianya bukan kali ini, kalau ASEAN kalau kita lihat bukan sahaja pertemuan antara 10 negara anggota tapi melibatkan negara-negara teluk GCC dan juga China, sidang kemuncak ekonomi ASEAN GCC China. Itu juga akan kita saksikan jangkaan yang akan datang. Terima kasih Imran Imran Yassin Mat Yusof, Ketua MIDF Research, berkongsi pandangan beliau berkenaan dengan pergerakan bursa Malaysia, dan sudah tentu banyak lagi laporan lain akan kami bawakan selepas ini. Okey, untuk waktu ini saya nak bawakan satu laporan yang cukup menarik untuk kita telitikan kerana ianya akan memberi impak besar kepada perubahan dan juga lanskap struktur ekonomi Malaysia. Di mana model pekerjaan siswazah Malaysia kini berdepan krisis struktur yang sangat mendalam apabila pendidikan tinggi tidak lagi menjamin pulangan upah yang bermakna. Menambah buruk situasi siswazah di negara ini hanya memperoleh pendapatan cukup makan tanpa ruang untuk menyimpan, melabur atau meningkatkan mobiliti sosial mereka.
Perkara itu didedahkan menerusi laporan bertajuk The Gaji Cukup Makan Ekonomi When Higher Education Becomes an Economic Risk yang dibangunkan oleh Pusat Kajian Masa Depan Pasaran Buruh (EUERA) di bawah Future Studies Berhad The Future. Meskipun kadar kebolehpasaran siswazah sering dilaporkan melebihi 80%, laporan itu menegaskan bahawa angka tersebut boleh mengelirukan kerana ia merangkumi semua bentuk pekerjaan tanpa mengambil kira padanan kemahiran atau tahap upah. Hakikatnya lebih 70% siswazah bekerja dalam sektor separa mahir dan tidak mahir dan lebih 65% pemegang ijazah memperoleh gaji bulanan di bawah RM3,000. Ketidakpadanan yang meluas antara kelayakan akademik dan pekerjaan ini mencerminkan kemerosotan serius dalam pulangan pelaburan pendidikan tinggi. Walaupun isu ketidakpadanan siswazah turut berlaku di negara maju, The Future menjelaskan bahawa situasi di Malaysia berada di tahap yang lebih buruk. Ini disebabkan paras gaji rendah sekaligus tidak memberi ruang perlindungan kepada mereka yang terlibat dalam pekerjaan di bawah kelayakan. Ini menyebabkan ketidakpadanan di Malaysia memberi kesan ekonomi yang lebih mendalam, menghadkan mobiliti sosial dan mengurangkan minat untuk melanjutkan pelajaran ke peringkat lebih tinggi, khususnya dalam kalangan golongan berpendapatan rendah dan sederhana. Dalam konteks ini, keputusan untuk melanjutkan pelajaran semakin berisiko dari sudut ekonomi, khususnya bagi belia yang perlu menanggung kos pendidikan yang semakin tinggi, sedangkan pulangan gaji yang diterima tidak setimpal. Laporan itu turut mendedahkan bahawa jurang yang semakin melebar antara kelayakan, kualiti pekerjaan dan ganjaran tersebut mencabar kepercayaan tradisional bahawa pendidikan adalah laluan kepada mobiliti sosial. Antara punca kepada permasalahan tersebut adalah pertumbuhan gaji yang perlahan, kelemahan dalam penyediaan pra-pekerjaan dan permintaan kemahiran yang lemah dari sektor swasta. Faktor-faktor ini katanya telah mewujudkan trajektori gaji yang mendatar dan tertangguh di mana siswazah gagal membezakan diri mereka dari segi pendapatan berbanding bukan siswazah, terutamanya pada fasa awal kerjaya.
Baik, krisis struktur berkait model pekerjaan siswazah Malaysia yang semakin memburuk itu tadi memerlukan langkah reformasi yang berani, di mana Pusat Kajian Masa Depan Pasaran Buruh EUERA di bawah Future Studies Berhad berkata langkah itu penting bagi merangka campur tangan dasar yang sesuai berasaskan realiti siswazah merentasi pelbagai sektor, kumpulan demografi dan laluan pendidikan. Antara langkah yang dicadangkan adalah menggantikan indikator pasaran yang mengelirukan dengan ukuran padanan kemahiran, mewujudkan sistem penjejakan hasil siswazah jangka panjang, menyusun semula program latihan industri dan laluan pra-pekerjaan, memacu pemodenan industri dan reka bentuk semula pekerjaan dan memperkenalkan garis panduan upah sebagai alat penasihat bagi menangani tekanan gaji rendah. Laporan tersebut turut mengemukakan satu kerangka dasar holistik yang mengintegrasikan perancangan pendidikan, permintaan pasaran buruh dan hasil upah melangkaui pendekatan berpecah-pecah kepada strategi nasional berasaskan hasil yang lebih padu dan terselaras. Laporan bertajuk The Gaji Cukup Makan Economy When Higher Education Becomes an Economic Risk menyediakan perspektif makro terhadap cabaran struktur dalam pasaran buruh siswazah di Malaysia. Ia turut menawarkan diagnosis menyeluruh mengenai penindasan gaji, ketidakpadanan kemahiran dan ketidakcekapan dalam laluan pendidikan kepekerjaan. Di samping menyorot jurang dasar yang kritikal, laporan itu turut menyeru kajian lanjut secara mendalam agar penemuan-penemuan ini dapat diterjemahkan kepada reformasi yang lebih bersasar dan berimpak tinggi. Okey, baik. Jadi untuk waktu ini kita nak meneliti berkenaan dengan laporan ini. Banyak lagi angka-angka yang perlu dan juga dapatan yang perlu kita telusuri, kita fahami dan juga kita mencari jalan penyelesaiannya. Dan saya bersama dengan individu sebahagian daripada kumpulan yang menjalankan kajian ini, Saudara Muhammad Zarif Luqman Hashim, ahli ekonomi, Pusat Kajian Masa Depan Pasaran Buruh, EU Era, The Future. Terima kasih Zarif sudah hadir ke Astro AWANI. Pertama sekali, mungkin boleh nak jelaskan kepada penonton dapatan kajian ini. Sebenarnya apa yang dimaksudkan dengan situasi ketidakpadanan siswazah dalam bidang pekerjaan ini dan macam mana sebenarnya jurangnya itu yang dilaporkan semakin melebar itu, bagaimana realiti ataupun boleh beri gambaran tersebut?
Okey, mudah sekali saya nak cakap. Graduan bergraduat dan mereka bekerja tempat yang tidak sama dengan apa yang mereka graduat tersebut. Sebagai contoh, graduan dalam bidang bahasa, mereka kerja di salah satu shopping mall. Itu antara
sebagai promoter
sebagai salesperson,
graduate engineering
tetapi kerja sebagai penghantar makanan. Itu pun salah satu daripada mismatch. Dan sebenarnya mismatch ni memang melebar dan kita lihat daripada sebelum-sebelum ni, ini adalah bukan satu isu yang baru, ini adalah isu struktur. Dan sebenarnya ia lebih kepada kita nak lihat bagaimana rantaian antara institusi pendidikan dan juga keperluan industri itu. Itu adalah salah satu cara yang kita nak lihat sebenarnya apa kegagalan dia. Kenapa benda ini berlaku dan apa yang menyebabkan perkara ini berlaku. Dan sebenarnya mismatch ni akan menyebabkan lebih ramai lagi pelajar yang bergraduat akan masuk ke dalam pekerjaan tetapi tidak dapat apa yang mereka perlukan, apa yang mereka belajar dekat semasa di universiti. Dan ia akan menyebabkan gaji lah. Macam kita cakap tadi, gaji bawah 3,000. Itu yang menyebabkan mismatch itu berlaku dan juga penyebab utama mismatch adalah disebabkan gaji tersebut.
Zarif, bagaimana sebenarnya mungkin kalau kita nak bercakap dari segi kalaulah situasi ini berterusan, apa yang akan berlaku kepada Malaysia ini, ekonomi Malaysia, produktiviti tenaga buruh, apa akan berlaku sebenarnya jika jurangnya itu makin melebar dan progres pertumbuhan gaji perlahan, apa impaknya sebenarnya?
Okey, sebelum ni kita cakap pasal middle income trap. Malaysia dah lama dah kita dekat middle income trap. Tapi sekarang ni kita kena tengok juga middle semi skill job. Trap. Maknanya kita terperangkap pekerja-pekerja ataupun majikan-majikan ni hanya menyalurkan ataupun hanya membuka peluang pekerjaan kepada mereka yang memerlukan SPM saja. Itu yang berlaku di Malaysia. Lebih daripada 70% yang macam laporan yang kami jalankan itu, 70% adalah pekerjaan yang hanya memerlukan SPM dan ke bawah. Itu trap yang telah lama berlaku dekat Malaysia. Dan apa isu ni, produktiviti akan pergerakan produktiviti akan rendah lah. Maknanya produktiviti tidak akan banyak berlaku dan juga gaji pun akan berkurangan dekat situ. Dan ekonomi Malaysia akan tetap sampai bila-bila dekat middle income trap. Disebabkan kita tak ada satu inovasi ataupun teknologi yang boleh push pekerjaan yang berkemahiran ni dan kita tak boleh nak memperbanyakkan lagi pekerjaan yang berkemahiran ini.
Zarif, bagaimana pula kalau kita nak meneliti berkenaan dengan mungkin ada dapatan lain yang penting yang mungkin perlu didedahkan dan orang ramai perlu tahu hasil kajian yang dilakukan oleh UERA ini? Ya.
Okay, salah satunya adalah macam mana kita nak lihat keberkesanan universiti tersebut, quality of education tersebut. Yang mana kita lihat quality of education yang telah dilaporkan 90%, 80% keboleh pasaran.
Ya, betul.
Sebenarnya itu adalah salah satu daripada misconception. Kalau kita lihat macam VT tadi, keboleh pasaran itu merangkumi semua. Mereka yang bekerja di sektor di pekerjaan yang tidak formal, formal, dan juga mereka yang sambung belajar pun masuk sekali sebagai keboleh pasaran tersebut. Maknanya dia kira sebagai keseluruhan. Jadinya apa yang kita perlukan adalah kita perlukan satu perkara ataupun satu laporan yang menyatakan bahawa okey, ini adalah keboleh pasaran pelajar. Ini adalah keboleh pasaran berdasarkan kemahiran mereka dan dapat kerja berdasarkan mereka yang berkemahiran tinggi, kerja yang berkemahiran tinggi. Itu yang kita perlukan supaya orang ramai boleh tahu, okey, bila kita masuk universiti kita akan dapat pekerjaan ini. Dan bila dan juga universiti pun kena lihat balik macam mana kurikulum mereka dibentuk. Sama ada kurikulum mereka dibentuk berdasarkan keperluan industri ataupun hanya suka-suka saja. Sebabkan kita lihat banyak yang kursus-kursus yang ada dekat Malaysia ni, bukan banyaklah, ada beberapa kursus-kursus yang kat Malaysia ni dah lapuk dah. Maknanya ianya hanya memerlukan sedikit saja pelajar yang ada, tapi kebanyakannya intake banyak dekat kawasan ramai dekat kawasan tu. Jadinya apa yang diperlukan, mereka perlukan fokus. Apa keperluan industri, apa keperluan market pada masa akan datang supaya apa yang dibelajar di universiti dapat di-adapt di market ataupun di tempat pekerjaan tersebut.
Nak fulfill the demand industri itu.
Betul.
Sebab itu akhirnya yang akan menyebabkan macam kita cakap tadi, graduate engineering tetapi bekerja dalam bidang yang tak ada kaitan langsung pun dengan kejuruteraan itu. Bagaimana mungkin di pihak UERA melihat dalam laporan menyebut berkenaan dengan, kita nak moving forward lah, melihat kepada perlunya reformasi berani. Saya quote reformasi berani ataupun dalam kata lain radical move yang perlu dilakukan. Apa yang perlu kita lakukan kalau kita bercakap soal mungkin peranan kerajaan, swasta, pemain industri dan juga mungkin IPT dan serta mungkin siswazah itu sendiri. Bagaimana mungkin Zarif boleh kongsikan reformasi berani yang perlu dilakukan itu?
Okey, sebagai contoh kita lihat negara Singapura, macam mana mereka membangun daripada meninggalkan Malaysia dan sekarang menjadi negara maju. Pada permulaannya mereka tidak akan sentuh berkenaan dengan gaji dulu. Apa yang mereka buat adalah informasi berkenaan dengan industri tersebut. Mereka hapuskan industri-industri yang boleh dikatakan sunset. Maknanya produktiviti rendah, value added rendah. Itu yang mereka perlukan. Mereka eliminate perkara-perkara tersebut dan induce mana-mana industri-industri yang ada potensial untuk membangun pada masa akan datang. Dan bila kita buat berkenaan dengan industri tersebut, dan bukan saja government ataupun kerajaan yang memerlukan yang hanya menyalurkan intervensi tersebut, tetapi perlulah mendapat sokongan daripada pihak industri tersebut. Disebabkan perkara ini adalah dua-dua pihak. Government dapat GDP yang tinggi, company dapat keuntungan yang tinggi. Itu yang diperlukan. Dan apabila berlakunya situasi tersebut, industri reformasi di Singapura, dalam masa yang sama, selepas berlakunya reformasi tersebut, barulah mereka menjalankan wage correction model dekat Singapura. Maknanya, industri perlu berubah dulu, baru gaji boleh ditingkatkan. Macam mana kalau industri tak berubah, gaji nak meningkat?
Betul.
Adakah keuntungan akan berkurang bila gaji meningkat kan? Jadinya kita kena ada win-win situation dekat situ.
Betul.
Dan apabila berlakunya industri revolusi ataupun reformasi industri tersebut, akan berlakunya permintaan kepada pekerja-pekerja ataupun bakat-bakat yang baru yang boleh fit ke dalam industri tersebut. Itu adalah ekosistem dia sebenarnya.
And it not just bakat baru tetapi bakat baru yang berkualiti.
Ya, betul.
Masing-masing nak berebut masuk sebab ni. Okey, alright. Mungkin Zarif teruskan, ada input tadi.
Sebab bila kita lihat sebenarnya dari segi kurikulum di universiti kan. Perubahan biasanya dibuat dalam masa 5 tahun sekali. Whereas perubahan di industri sangat pantas. Jadinya kita memerlukan satu ekosistem perubahan kurikulum itu boleh dibuat dalam masa yang singkat, fleksibel, yang boleh membawa masuk elemen-elemen industri di dalam pelajaran di universiti. Sebagai contoh, kalau kita lihat negara-negara maju ni, ada yang beberapa negara maju universiti mereka berkait ataupun mempunyai hubungan yang rapat dengan industri.
Betul.
Di mana pelajar-pelajar mereka ini dilihat akan berada di industri bukan hanya berada di tempoh akhir, iaitu semasa berlakunya internship. Tetapi berada di tempoh permulaan sekali. Maknanya mereka memberikan pendedahan kepada industri daripada tempoh awal. Maknanya pelajar tersebut dah nampak dah. Okey, industri ni buat ni. Industri ni buat ni. Dan juga mereka dah boleh bayangkan apa yang mereka nak pada masa akan datang. Jadinya laluan tersebut lebih mudah kepada pelajar dan juga kepada industri. Supayanya industri tidak perlu lagi membuat ataupun menjalani latihan reskilling kepada pekerja-pekerja mereka lah pada masa mereka masuk graduan tersebut.
Ya, terutama kalau kita bercakap soal place and train, train and place. Sebab sekarang ni kita selalu melihat konsep di Malaysia adalah train and place.
Betul.
Maksudnya kita melatih dulu, duduk 2 tahun setengah.
Betul.
Lagi setengah tahun baru nak pergi place-nya ataupun ni lah.
Pelajar pun tak tahu apa yang berlaku dekat luar sana. Itu yang kita perlukan. Kita kena hit kepada semua sekali. Industri kita kena jalankan reformasi. Kerajaan kena membantu ataupun membantu industri yang boleh dilihat untuk membangun pada masa akan datang. Dalam masa yang sama berkenaan dengan gaji. Dan universiti perlu lebih bersifat linear lah. Maknanya fleksibel untuk melakukan apa-apa perubahan, dan juga pelajar itu sendiri kena mengetahui apa laluan apa laluan mereka sebenarnya. Sebenarnya bukan saja di universiti kita perlukan, tetapi berada di sekolah lagi. Maknanya di sekolah mereka dah tahu dah. Okey, dekat universiti nak jadi apa? Nak belajar bahagian apa? Itu yang penting sebenarnya. Barulah kita dapat pekerjaan yang berkualiti untuk pelajar dan juga pekerja yang berkualiti untuk industri. Disebabkan sekarang ni macam kita lihat memang banyak pelajar-pelajar keluar daripada universiti, 270,000, 200 hampir 300,000. Tetapi dalam masa yang sama industri ada juga mempunyai isu berkenaan dengan kekurangan pekerja-pekerja mahir. Maknanya ada
industri yang masih lagi yang tak mampu nak fulfill demand tu.
Ya, betul. Sebagai contohnya ada berkenaan dengan engineer lah. Sekarang ni gaji India ada yang masih lagi mendapat gaji 1,800 untuk gaji permulaan mereka. Kita kena lihat kenapa perkara-perkara tersebut berlaku. Adakah kurikulum berkenaan dengan engineering ini yang perlu diubah, ataupun adakah industri tersebut yang ada nampak gap dekat kurikulum kita tu. Itu kita kena tahu apa yang kita kena buat sebenarnya.
Saya faham dan juga sudah tentu kalau kita bercakap soal gaji ni, nak naikkan gaji, majikan juga mungkin akan melompat ataupun melenting juga kalau nak naikkan gaji ni sebenarnya. Okey, antara salah satu cadangan yang adalah mewujudkan sistem penjejakan hasil siswazah jangka panjang, kerana saya percaya ini juga antara salah satu perkara untuk memastikan bahawa kita boleh tracking we are on the right track or not. So bagaimana mungkin penjejakan ini boleh dilakukan, dan juga mungkin peranan agensi-agensi kerajaan ialah kalau kita nak track dari segi mungkin KWSP, LHDN, ini semua adalah agensi-agensi yang mungkin boleh menyumbang dalam nak memastikan bahawa kita boleh tahu kalau caruman dia banyak ini, maksudnya gaji dia banyak ini kan. So bagaimana mungkin ini adalah satu perkara yang cukup penting dalam proses penjejakan, nak memastikan bahawa kita on the right track dalam moving forward lah dalam isu berkenaan dengan ketidakpadanan siswazah ini.
Okey, kita lihat isu kita nak track perjalanan tu sebenarnya. Pihak kami telah pun ada menjalankan kajian berkenaan dengan ataupun survey berkenaan dengan kita nak tracking apa yang berlaku kepada graduan. Dan kita lihat ada beberapa graduan sebenarnya telah pun moving up mobility, maknanya mobility pekerjaan mereka daripada semi skill kepada skill workers. Itu adalah salah satu daripada cara untuk kita lihat adakah selepas 6 bulan mereka masih lagi berada di dalam kategori pekerjaan yang sama ataupun mereka telah pun meningkat naik. Kalau kita lihat sekarang ni tracer study yang telah dijalankan, kita hanya mengambil kira 6 bulan saja. Di mana ada sesetengah pelajar telah pun masuk dalam pelajar berkemahiran, pekerjaan berkemahiran. Tetapi ada pelajar yang sekarang ni masih lagi dalam keadaan okey, nak kerja saja dulu. Nak lihat macam mana. Dan kita tak tahu apa yang berlaku sebenarnya selepas pelajar tersebut. Jadi ini sebagai contoh, kalau kita gunakan data KWSP, boleh, cumanya kita hanya tahu pergerakan gaji saja. Kita tak tahu pergerakan pekerjaan tersebut. Kalau kita gunakan data LHDN, kita hanya dapat tahu apabila mereka mendapat threshold untuk membayar cukai. Untuk membayar cukai
itulah potongan cukai itu.
Jadinya yang dekat bawah, tu kita tak tahu macam mana pergerakan dia. Memang LHDN kita ada berkenaan dengan nama pekerjaan kita dan sebagainya, tapi kita nak track yang bawah ni. Ada progres tak ada progres, naik tak naik. Naik tak naik. Kalau negara luar bolehlah, sebab mereka setiap daripada pekerja ataupun setiap daripada individu yang ada di dalam negara tersebut, mereka mempunyai nombor cukai mereka sendiri, nombor unit cukai. Tapi kita tidak ada kat sini. Dan apa yang negara luar buat seperti Kanada yang sebagai contoh dalam laporan kita, mereka telah pun menjalankan tracking menggunakan survey. Mungkin simple, tapi itu sudah memadai untuk melihat bagaimana kualiti of pendidikan kita dekat Malaysia ini. Itu antara sebagai salah satu contohlah. Kalau kita lihat macam mana sebenarnya tracking kita 3 ataupun 5 tahun akan datang untuk kita membantu universiti membetulkan apa yang kurangnya yang berada di universiti, dan juga cohort review, dan juga apa yang perlu ditambah baik berkenaan dengan kita punya dasar-dasar berkenaan dengan pendidikan tinggi kita untuk Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi.
Betul. Satu perbincangan yang cukup menarik, Zarif. Rasa macam tak cukup masa kita. InsyaAllah dari semasa ke semasa kita akan terus bersiaran dan juga mengupas berkenaan dengan topik ini, melihat dari isu ketidakpadanan dan juga progres. Yang paling penting adalah bagaimana pembuat dasar di negara ini akan respon kepada laporan ini, apa yang akan dilakukan. Banyak kementerian mungkin terlibat, Kementerian Sumber Manusia, Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, Kementerian Ekonomi, banyak sebenarnya yang perlu cakna dan juga melihat bagaimana langkah seterusnya dalam nak memastikan bahawa kita tidak terus terperangkap dengan sebagai negara berpendapatan sederhana ini. Baik, terima kasih sekali lagi Saudara Muhammad Zarif Luqman Hashim, Ahli Ekonomi Pusat Kajian Masa Depan Pasaran Buruh EU Era The Future. Sekali ini kita akan kemas kini di media sosial kami dan juga di astroawani.com. Niaga Awani nak berhenti rehat seketika, banyak lagi laporan menarik selepas ini.
Dibesarkan bersama-sama Syamsi. 3 jaga 3. Tak sangka Syamsi berbiru. Kerja kurang, man. Tak Syamsi. Semua orang ingat kau dah mati, Boran. Kau dapat peluang start balik. Lepas tu ini agak balik.
Dah sampai masa untuk awak putuskan siapa awak sebenarnya.
Aku Burhan. Aku Keluang Man.
Kalau kita tangkap Keluang Man, orang awam akan keji kita. Dia bagai seorang pahlawan
yang jadi pembela pada yang tiada upaya.
Itu bukan cerita Batman ke?
Ni cerita air dah.
Tariffs on imports of products from China reaching up to 145%.
Tariffs on the rest of the world are sitting at 10%, with the potential for reciprocal tariffs to be reimposed within 90 days.
Kunjungan rasmi Presiden China ke Malaysia ini menunjukkan komitmen kedua-dua negara untuk meningkatkan hubungan diplomatik ke tahap yang lebih strategik.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrate Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Welcome back to Niaga Awani. Across the world, we see an increase in ransomware attacks or data breaches in different industry sectors, from Davita, a US dialysis firm, to recent ransomware attack on Tumpuan Tech or Home Team NS in Singapore, to hackers demanding 10 million US dollar ransom in Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad cyber attack in Malaysia. And this highlights the urgent need to enterprises and companies to strengthen their cyber resilience as cyber criminals grow more sophisticated and aggressive in their attacks and demands. It is critical for industry players to proactively protect their data, defend digital infrastructure, and develop robust incident response strategies and be ready. And with me right now to discuss further on this, Dr. Craig Martel, Chief AI Officer of Cohesity. First of all, thank you so much coming to our show today. For maybe, what is the state of artificial intelligence AI today?
So first of all, terima kasih for having me. So AI today is in a really interesting spot in the hype cycle. We had this really large peak in all of the magic that AI was going to do, and now we're starting to come down from that hype cycle and see where it's really effective and where it's not. So I think AI is showing really strong promise for things like helping with coding, helping with writing, in the sciences. But I think it's really important to think about AI not as a singular technology, such that if you buy it, you can solve all of your problems, which is the way it's sold. Instead, you need to think it's a collection of technologies, and it may work for one use case, but may not work for another use case.
Cybersecurity and AI are top of mind or boardrooms, and what is AI's critical role in safeguarding data against ransomware and other threats?
So there's a number of ways to approach that. The first thing I would say is that the same power that allows attackers to, using AI to get easier access to your data, also allows you to protect it, right? So, for example, you could use AI to red team, try to find those ways into your data themselves. But other things that are really important is in your backup system to automatically scan for malware. Can you detect whether there's something there that shouldn't be there? And most importantly today is, can you detect a change in entropy? Because entropy is an indication of a ransomware attack. And you can use AI to do these things.
Oh, okay. And then what data protection and management strategies will help organization, especially if you say in Malaysia, focus on driving positive business outcomes?
So let's just go back to that ransomware notion for a second. When you think about data protection, you really should think about the NIST, the U.S. National Institute of Standards, notion of 3-2-1. 3 copies in 2 locations, one of which is immutable. Not changeable. So you should think about your, and ideally that copy is air gapped, so completely separate from the rest of your company's data. Because if you detect that there's a ransomware attack, you can always go back to the last known good if that data is not touchable. And so it's really important when thinking about your data resiliency strategy to follow these sorts of norms.
Maybe how will future-ready especially data, help enterprises have a winning advantage in uncertain times?
So the really important thing to think about AI in general is that it's, let's ask the question, what is AI? AI is really statistics at scale. You gather data from the past to build a model to predict the future. That's the really important thing to think about. So given that it's statistics at scale, the data that's in a generic AI model may or may not be effective for your use case. So the data that's in your backup, the data that you have in your company, is the data that's going to provide those advantages. So any insight into your business, any capabilities that you want to build, that's going to come from the data that's in your business, not from stuff external. Like if you go to one of the cloud providers and buy AI, that's great, but that's generic. The real advantage your company is going to have is leveraging its business data for AI.
Talking about evolving threats, how have cyber threats actually evolved with the rise of AI? When we are talking about, especially for example, like are attackers also using AI tools, especially AI tools, to scale or automate their attacks? Yeah.
So they have been scaling and automating at an increasingly big speed. But again, the sort of security folks that we work with have also been doing the same thing simultaneously. So it is absolutely going to become an arms race, right? You want to keep up on this arms race. You want to make sure that you're using the same tools that the bad guys might be using to see if you can find vulnerabilities. And if I could give a few pieces of advice, there's sort of three things that we at Kaoosji recommend. First, always keep your software up to date. Because if there's an attack, up-to-date software may close that attack. Always use multi-factor authentication everywhere. A lot of attacks we see attack the identity system of your organization. So the bad guys could hijack an identity and so be part of your company in ways that you don't want them to be. But if you use multi-factor authentication, then that's less likely. And finally, always red team. Always practice, practice, practice. Practice what would happen if you were attacked. Because let's say the worst case happens, you are attacked. Well, if you've practiced, you can get up and running more quickly. You can get back to where you need to be more quickly. So people tend to think about what should we do after an attack? Right after an attack. That maybe is not the best time to think about it. You should think about that ahead of time, have a plan and practice.
More proactive. Okay, I would like to bring our discussion into data classification and also especially on sensitivity, for example, and zero trust and AI, because of data resilience and governance is always interconnected each other. One key challenge is knowing what data to protect most, and how can actually AI help with data classification and also tagging sensitivity and automating data protection policies.
100%. So if you think about what, I come from a backup perspective, so I'm going to answer it with respect to, that's what our company does, right? So that's what Kaoosji does. So if you think about that backup data, and if you think about it just sitting in the corner, then you're wasting a very valuable resource. Because as that data is being backed up, it's representative of your whole business, not just 10 years ago, but also 15 minutes ago. So you can use that data as an indicator of there's something being wrong, or as an indicator of what data needs to be protected. So we constantly run classification techniques where we discover PII, where we discover health information, where we discover other sensitive information that you may or may not want, that you have to govern differently, right? In addition, we can also do not just malware scanning, but we can look for anomalous behaviors. So we start to see over in this group, more things are being encrypted than were encrypted before. And it has a lot of PII. Maybe that's a ransomware attack.
How about, large enterprises, large companies may have the resources, but how can small or mid-size, especially in the context of Malaysian businesses, begin their journey towards AI-powered cyber resilience? Maybe your advice on SMEs, how they can start to make sure that their business are well equipped, is ready on this.
That's great. That's a great question, and it's something that we at Kaoosji think about quite a bit. Because if you're a large organization, then you already know how to build AI, you already have the tools to build AI, and you already have the problem set that you're concerned with. We have been thinking hard about how can we offer to our customers sort of an out-of-the-box AI solution that leverages their data. So we have a product called Gaia, and Gaia stands for Generative AI Application. It also is the name of a Greek goddess, so we got both out of it. But Gaia allows you to, just by buying your backup data, regardless of the size of your business, you have to back up, right? So as it's backed up, using our Gaia tool, you can actually ask questions of your data. Like you can ask things like, when was the last time our profit looked like the following? Or can you show me an example of data of medical data that may have left illegally or incorrectly? And it will search through the data and it'll find that and it'll help you answer lots of analytical questions like that.
What role do you think, especially AI, will play in building more cyber resilient Malaysia? You know, like for example, like and how important public-private partnership, collaboration in this space.
Yeah, so I think that let's address the public-private one. I think that's really interesting. Having the right governance rules in place for how you protect your data, how you manage your data is going to be unbelievably important. Because look, you pick up your phone and you press a button and suddenly you shared your data with everybody, right? And if it's the Wild West out there, then you don't know where your data is going. But having a strong governance policy, like I know Malaysia just passed a lot of new AI rules. Having a strong governance policy allows for a uniform set of protections for your data. So I think that public-private is really important. Private doing it alone is great for experimenting and trying new things, but public has to say, look, this is the minimum set of protections that we need to make sure that our citizens' data is protected.
One of the issue in Malaysia is about the expertise, the technical expertise, especially on AI. As AI transform, how can we secure and manage data, and what skills should Malaysian tech leaders and team be developing today?
This is really interesting, given the last talk, right? The last person you had on. I think it's really important that education starts to not ignore AI, but integrate AI into the training. So let's talk about. So I'm a computer scientist by training, so I know coding best. Let's talk about coding. Before AI, you learn a bunch of coding, and the programmer codes all of the code and checks for bugs and so on. Now the tools are so good that you might code some of it, but there's going to be large chunks of it that you're going to code via AI. And there's going to be large pieces of it where you're going to ask AI, are there any bugs here? Right? The problem is, since AI is statistics at scale, as I said before, it's guaranteed to be sometimes wrong. Right? So it's really going to help people who understand their job be more efficient, more than it's going to replace people with a machine. So as a coder, you still need the expertise and the understanding to be able to decide that code generated by the AI was acceptable, or that it actually did find a bug, right? It may not have been a bug, it might have been a design choice on your part. And so you still need the expertise to understand code, but that coder is going to become significantly more efficient. But to do that, I think that training with AI, sort of joint coding, human and AI, has to start back in university.
Dr. Craig, it's such a pleasure talk with you on this matter, and of course we in Malaysia especially need to make sure that we are like resilient enough in order to make sure that we have a good experts, and also our education system are ready to make sure that we are ready to face all the challenges, and also make sure that AIs are integrated together with our education system and make Malaysian more resilient. Thank you so much, Dr. Craig Martel, Chief AI Officer of Kaoosji. All of this will be available in our social media platform and astroawani.com. Thank you so much for watching Astro Awani, dan selepas ini anda akan bersama dengan Tehmina untuk meneliti berkenaan dengan satu laporan berkait dengan hidupan liar, isu gajah yang masih lagi mungkin mendominasi media sosial pada ketika ini. Kita nak berhenti rehat seketika. Selepas ini anda akan bersama dengan Tehmina Kaoosji dalam Niaga Spotlight.
Uniform Tentera Darat Malaysia TADM bagi peserta program latihan khidmat negara tidak seharusnya menjadi isu hangat.
Jenayah penipuan pelaburan mencatatkan jumlah kerugian tertinggi pada tahun ini setakat 2 Februari lalu.
Kementerian Pendidikan memandang serius isu peningkatan trend penggunaan rokok elektronik.
Lembaga Lebuhraya Malaysia LLM memperluaskan larangan kenderaan berat memasuki lebuhraya pada waktu puncak di beberapa jajaran terpilih di sekitar Lembah Kelam.
Wira telah bangkit. Sejarah telah tercipta. Kini, babak terakhir tiba. Drama yang tiada penghujungnya. Kejutan menanti Ogos ini apabila kami kembali. Premier League eksklusif di Astro. Cerita ini bermula dengan dua first wives.
You curi duit suami you and then you expect dia to jatuh cinta balik pada you. You tak layak bagi advice marriage pun dekat I.
This is why women need to know how to choose their husband properly.
First Wives. Stream ke semua episod on demand dan 9 malam di Astro Citra.
Malaysia sebenarnya berada di kedudukan kedua terburuk di dunia berkaitan keseimbangan hidup dan kerja.
LRT3 sudah akan mula beroperasi suku ketiga 2025. Kerja-kerja fizikal dan penstrukturan sudah mencecah 95%.
KPM sebenarnya sedang memperincikan cadangan untuk menyediakan allowance kos sara hidup tingkatan 6.
Libat urus antara umat Islam dan agama lain penting supaya dapat mengelakkan ataupun membawa kepada Islamofobia.
Hello and welcome to Niaga Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. Niaga Spotlight takes us through the week in economic analysis and future affairs. Now this week on Future Affairs, we're looking at eco-assets and elephant conservation in Malaysia. Elephant conservation in Malaysia faces complex economic and socio-environmental challenges. Now in 2025, an estimated 3,800 elephants or so are believed to live across Malaysia. The recent elephant roadkill also highlights a wider crisis. Nearly 2,400 wildlife deaths have occurred on Malaysian roads just since 2020, including endangered species. The tragic death of a baby elephant on the East-West Highway on Mother's Day, 11th May, with heart-wrenching visuals of the elephant mother's grief, underscores the urgent need for effective mitigation strategies to protect one of our most beloved eco-assets, the Malaysian wild elephant. Untouched forests, which are critical wildlife and elephant habitats, are being threatened by proposed road projects and habitat fragmentation in several states. In Sabah, meanwhile, a key issue with Borneo pygmy elephant conservation is the ongoing threat of habitat loss, primarily due to deforestation for agriculture, especially oil palm plantations. Today on Niaga Spotlight, we have the pleasure of having with us in the studios Dr. Farina Othman, founder and director of Saratu Atai, leading efforts to protect the endangered Borneo pygmy elephant in Sabah. Dr. Wong Ipin, associate professor with University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and principal investigator, management and ecology of Malaysian elephants, MEME, joins us also to highlight proactive measures for elephant conservation in Malaysia. A very good morning to the both of you. Thank you so much for making time today.
Thank you for having us.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you. Nice to see you.
Right. So if I could get started, perhaps, Ifin, if you could start off by helping us to actually identify the fact that Malaysia is actually home to 2 subspecies of wild elephants. Could you give us a quick overview and also what have been some of the ongoing as well as historic challenges when it comes to conservation?
Yeah, I think Malaysia is very fortunate that we have elephants in Peninsular Malaysia and also in Borneo, particularly in Sabah. So maybe Farina will elaborate more on the Bornean elephants here. So we in Peninsular Malaysia, we estimate there's about 1,500 elephants. And in Sabah recently, the estimates are about 1,000.
More or less the same.
Yeah?
Numbers, yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of conservation of elephants in Malaysia, I'm glad that the researchers in Sabah and Peninsular Malaysia, we collaborate very closely. Yeah, so we exchange knowledge and data, and we discuss on strategies and things like that. A lot of the stakeholders that we work with are quite similar. For example, the oil palm plantations. The oil palm plantations that have estates in Peninsular Malaysia and also in Sabah and elsewhere. And a lot of best practices are being shared across all this region so that we can increase our ability to have elephants and oil palms in the same area.
Exactly. Of course, we'll go deeper into discussing a bit of that. I just wanted to ask, as a matter of curiosity, there isn't actually much specific data available for elephant populations in Sarawak. Any thoughts around how perhaps that could be made more available? Would that also be more helpful to the overall elephant conservation work which is happening in Malaysia, Ifin?
So currently we do not have elephants in Sarawak, but maybe in the past we had a long time ago, because during the Ice Age, this whole continent over here, the Borneo and Peninsula, we are actually connected. Yes, thank you, Farina. You are able to walk from Peninsula Malaysia to Borneo and vice versa. So,
if I can add to that, so
yes, of course.
Not many people knows that Borneo is like the third largest island in the world, but the Bornean elephant are only found in the north part, so which is in Sabah.
That's right. Correct.
So there are still a lot of discussion and debates like around that's why we only have elephants in Sabah, not in other part of Borneo. But there is really more like academic debates. Like now, the most important thing is that we have elephants and we have to find a way to manage and conserve them.
And speaking of ways to conserve them, first and foremost, of course, wanting to congratulate Seratu Atai on your recent recognition by the Whitley Conservation Fund. Tell us a little bit more, Dr. Farina, about what you have noticed through your work with Seratu Atai and partners about Borneo pygmy elephant and the most critical issues that you feel need to be highlighted.
All right. So first of all, I would like to just create some awareness that our Bornean elephants, they are not pygmy, because a lot of people thought we have very small elephants, but no, our elephant is quite big.
Okay, so let's dispel that. So why has it become a commonplace, layperson term to actually refer to them as pygmies?
They are the smallest subspecies of Asian elephant for sure.
Right.
But they're not pygmy. I think it's just to give some kind of a nice attraction, because at the beginning when in starting 2003, people still not knowing what is Bornean elephant. So I guess some group of researchers, they started to learn about elephants and they want to attract people to get to know these species. Then they started to call as pygmy elephants. So.
Right. Okay. So it kind of stuck, even though it is not exactly ecologically accurate.
Yeah. But they are like the smallest subspecies of Asian elephants.
And according, of course, to the recognition for Seratu Atai by the recent Whitley Award, are there approximately how many of these elephants in Sabah area?
So right now, just because estimation can be, we won't get the actual numbers because
that's correct.
It always estimates. And now we have about like 1,500, so 1,500 Bornean elephant. The biggest challenge is that their ranging distribution is very limited to the east coast of Sabah.
Right.
Where, this area are also very, very good for oil palm plantations and other socio-economic growth activities. So this is where it's very important to, everyone comes together and try to integrate elephants in the landscape.
Correct. Can I ask that, traditionally speaking, have elephants always been towards this side of the coast? And when it comes to habitat restoration and community engagement, what are some of the features that you've noticed?
So elephants are always, since the beginning, only found in the east coast of Sabah. And I think in terms of habitat restoration, we tend to neglect the nature of elephants. They are a species, a wide range species. They need a mix of, habitats. Forest, I think, is more suitable for species like orangutan that needs trees and things like that, because most of the restoration that we're doing right now is planting, native trees. Right. But elephants, they prefer more like grasses and so it's very important for us for elephants is not, first of all, we first need to think that don't destroy first their habitats.
Yes, number one.
And then when we try to restore, it's about connectivity. It's about try to expand their ranging area so that they can move, and right now their traditional route has been disturbed. And sometimes they are stuck in an area because we have we put a lot of barriers, for example. We put a lot of, we try to stop them basically, so they're stuck in one area, then it will create more conflicts. So for elephants, the most important thing is to try to expand their ability to move from one area to another area, which is very challenging.
Absolutely. And I think often when it comes to a crisis point, the challenge actually ends up being unfortunate wildlife and elephant road kills, which is what we recently saw. I think a lot of attention has come to the issue, but let's dig a bit deeper, Dr. Ifin. Let's look at balancing logging, palm oil cultivation, as well as, elephant conservation at the medium to long term in sustainable manners.
Yeah, so the scenario in Peninsular Malaysia is slightly different from Sabah.
Sure.
So the elephant range in Peninsular Malaysia is shrinking in the past 40 years, and now we have lost around 60% of elephant range in human-dominated landscape. So right now the effort is actually to try to retain the elephant range in Peninsular Malaysia, and for that to happen, we need to work with the stakeholders on the ground, which is including the forest plantations, the oil palm plantations, and of course the state parks and national parks and all. Yeah.
Exactly. So of course, outside of the forest, the only area which the wildlife and elephants are also able to survive then actually conflicts with humans, right?
Yes. So elephants, they liked a lot of monocots, grasses, bamboos.
Grazing areas.
Grazing areas, yeah. Unfortunately, oil palm is also a monocot, and they are attracted to young palms. So that is why for us to conserve elephants, it's very important for us to be able to work with the oil palm plantations to find ways how can elephant and people live together in the same landscape. Yeah, so tackling the conflict, minimizing some of the damages, allowing elephants to move safely from one feeding ground to the other feeding ground. So these are some of the efforts that we are trying to carry out together with all the elephant researchers.
Understood. And when it comes to the palm oil plantation stakeholders themselves, especially the ones in Peninsula, even have they actually been proactive and interested? Because also the palm oil industry, the agricultural sector, is facing a lot of certification and upgrading, right? How does that come into this landscape?
Okay, so this is the economic aspect, yeah?
Sure.
So oil palm is a very heavily scrutinized industry. I think Farina will agree, right? All the campaigns on orangutans, elephants and all. Often they paint oil palm as the bad guy. Yeah. So in this narrative, we are trying to give another perspective, saying oil palm plantations too can help support wildlife conservation of endangered species. There's a lot of efforts done by the orangutan researchers in Sabah. Yeah, Farina, and also the elephant researchers. So coming up with best practices for oil palm plantations. How can we manage the conflict at the same time, allow these endangered species to live? Yes,
exactly. And I picked up on something which you mentioned earlier, which is that basically the young palms are more targeted because that is the elephant's preferred diet. So what has been perhaps some of the feedback that has been noticed from the oil palm stakeholders about maybe recommendations which have come in from researchers like yourself for perhaps protecting the young oil palms, since the mature oil palms seem to do well? But of course, the issue is that they want all the oil palms to mature, right? Without any conflict with the elephants in the area.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
So, for example, I think we have to understand that oil palm, they have a lot of groups, if I can make it simple.
Sure, please
do. You have the smallholders, you have the medium size, you have the big players, and the resources that they have also very different.
They vary really.
Exactly. So big players, they are very committed to certification. For example, they understand the importance of sustainability. But if you imagine the smallholders that have only very small land, and each trees mean everything to them.
Naturally,
right?
yes.
So
100 trees, meaning all 100 need to be fruiting.
And some of them, they don't even have 100 trees. Yeah. And you have, so how to convince, one farmer that really depend, the entire livelihood of the family depend on that one single trees. So the approach need to to be, also different to which groups that we are dealing with. And right now we forget that when we look at in human-elephant conflict, there is actually another component, which is human-human conflict, that is more challenging for us to deal with. Because
let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, sure. So right now, I feel that the blame that we get is because we don't really understand how the industry work. They are planters, so they have different kind of goal and mission, and now you are putting all the responsibility on them. To
manage the ecological
side.
side.
That's why we have to work together right now. And I'm happy that in Peninsular Malaysia and in Sabah, we are in the right path. We are working together. There are more and more positive collaboration with between industry and also conservation to do.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Exactly. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about, in particular, Seratu Atai's experience, particularly working in the lower Kinabatangan area? Why, first of all, is this area so valuable when it comes to conservation issues?
So Kinabatangan is a very fragmented. For me, it's crowded with people, but at the same time, it sustains so many different kind of species, endangered species, endemic species of Borneo. Economically, it's very important for tourism activities because that's the best place for you to be able to see wild elephants in their natural habitats. We are talking about, you see elephants on the riverbank eating their natural feeding, the orangutan on the trees building the nest. So this is like a heaven for people who love to see wildlife. But at the same time, there are a lot of pressure. Kinabatangan itself is a corridor. So all the wildlife that live in the corridor. So there are more pressures. We need to be able to balance between the needs for economic and also to preserve the wildlife. So what we're trying to do at Seratu Atai is right now trying to look at how we can do this at the landscape level rather than on a, individual land or individual stakeholders. So how all of us can work together. That's why Seratu Atai means bersatu hati, which we want to try to bring everyone together.
Correct. Now, clearly, collaboration is going to be a big part of the landscape, not just moving forward, but tell me a little bit more, Ethan, about the existing synergy of MEM's work, collaborating also with researchers in Sabah.
Yes, in fact, for the first workshop we have in Peninsular Malaysia that we organized on human-elephant conflict and coexistence, I actually invited researchers from Sabah like Farina, Datuk John Payne, to come and share what they are doing there with the groups here in Peninsular Malaysia. Then later on, I have subsequent other workshops, three other workshops actually. And then we start to develop our path, and we decided for the place that we're working in, the corridors and food banks are very important. And this synergizes with also national policy like Centre for Spine Master Plan for Peninsular Malaysia to try to reconnect some of these forest habitats. And yet we are trying to find win-win solutions whereby, the elephants can move and find food. At the same time, the plantation are able to protect their vulnerable sites, such as the young palms or their residential area or their mills, places with high density of people. So we try to encourage, to attract the elephants to use the pathway near to the forest, so they are still familiar to go back to the forest, and then maybe just go to some grassland area or grazing area prepared for them and to feed on. So in this way, we hope we can try to lower some of the conflict between people and elephants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And perhaps if I could have a quick comment, especially from MEM's side, looking at the fact that there is not so much available data about the Asian elephants from our region and how it actually adds on to not only the regional but the global wealth of knowledge.
I think the Sundaik elephants, there's the elephants in this region, not much is known about them actually. So the work that the researchers in Sabah, what Farina is doing and others, very, very important. And the work that is produced by MEM, my organization, and also other researchers from Pelitan, WCS, the WWF, are all very important for us to know more about Asian elephants in the rainforest. Because a lot of what we know about elephants is from Africa, India, Sri Lanka. So what is known, what we have is still relatively mysterious and cryptic. And I really admire the work of the researchers in Sabah. And I'm very happy that we are able to collaborate together in this aspect. Yeah.
Thank you for the discussion so far. We take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Niaga Spotlight, focusing on our eco-assets and elephant conservation around Malaysia.
Perusahaan kecil dan sederhana, impian besar. Jiwa SME Astro AWANI kembali menjelajah Malaysia. Dari Ipoh ke Kota Kinabalu, dari Melaka ke Lembah Kelang. Sesi pitching, pameran produk dan dialog bersama pemimpin industri serantau. Dapatkan inspirasi, ilmu dan peluang untuk kembangkan perniagaan anda semuanya di bawah satu bumbung. Kerana inilah medan impak sebenar. Jiwa SME menjana impak, inovasi digital.
Gempur di AWANI 7.45.
Welcome back to Niaga Spotlight with me, Tehmina Kaoosji. So today we've been discussing eco-assets and looking at elephant conservation in and around all areas of Malaysia. Now, continuing the conversation, perhaps we were also looking at the fact that there is a need to look at the loss of about 60% of Bornean elephant habitats in the last 40 years. Are there perhaps maybe some innovative ideas or strategies which you have had, Dr. Farina, looking at your work in Sabah, but at the same time perhaps there wasn't the available funding for it? If you, let's say, had the available funding and the available, collaboration and synergies all in place, would there be some specific areas that you would want to jumpstart already, and what would they be?
Right. So for conservation, for elephant conservation, the most important thing is to try to, again, we really. I started Suratul Atta at the beginning because I feel frustrated. We are trying to stop elephant. Every time it's about elephant have to adopt, have to change.
That's right.
For us.
Not the other way around, right?
Yeah. So I would like to come back to the human conflicts that we're having. So right now, we can put all the technologies, but without people tolerance towards the elephant, we cannot go far. Yeah. Elephants, they can learn, they make decisions, they have personality. But if we keep looking at them as just being animal, whatever technologies that we use will never work. So for us right now, it's more building the trust with the communities, with the stakeholders. Always try to follow through all the plans that we do together, and always come with a solution together. It's not like me going to them and tell them you have to do A, B, C, D. It's about like, okay, now you are the owner of the land, you understand, and I know a bit of elephants' behavior.
Right.
How
let's talk.
Let's talk and let's try to find this solution together. So it's a marathon. A lot of people expect one solution overnight.
And for it to happen overnight.
Exactly. And then, like you say, this is very seasonal. When there is a situation, then people, So that's why we need, a team of people that can work with the stakeholder and tell them that there is someone that with you to walk this journey with you, and maybe we'll not get a big success, but small success, like, for example, having integrated electric fence that, everyone put the resources together. For us, corridor, for example, it's not only try to expand a connectivity for elephants, but it's a unity, it's a sign of unity of the stakeholders sharing the landscape together, that we are sharing this issue together, So I think that's the most important thing for elephant conservation.
Exactly. So basically along each stretch of land, then you're able to slowly integrate until hopefully it becomes normalized, right?
And I would like to add to that, for example, if a plantation is doing a good thing, nobody really celebrate that. They only highlighting the issues. So right now, for example, if they give up their land for corridors, they never get any incentive. For example, that they are doing business and they are paying, for example, taxes. How can they, come up with
receive acknowledgement for that? Yeah,
exactly. So we have to also start talking about how we can support the oil palm that are committed, really sincere to make difference. And this is one of the things that Serato Atta is hoping. We are engaging with, like different MSPO and other, hopefully, MPOB, the Ministry of Commodity, to try to understand if there is a way that we can incentivize the plantation for doing, a good job at conserving wildlife in their landscape.
Exactly. And because each of you also separately did raise the importance of the elephants having a diversified diet and especially things which they prefer to eat. What about perhaps some solutions around elephant-powered agroforestry? Of course, they are, incredible animals and they have a wide-ranging landscape that they travel each and every day for food and around the habitat. Are we already integrating some of these solutions in the areas that you both have work experience in?
You want to go first?
No.
So for us, it's because right now there is no yet a mechanism how to. So right now it's everyone is like experimenting which is working and which is not working. So planting the food the food bank for elephants and so that's why it's very important for us researchers to monitor and evaluate what is the success, what are not working and what is working. And usually that's take quite sometimes. So right now there is no, I think, one yet, very successful.
No one size fits all.
Exactly, exactly. And like I say, elephant learns, and that's why we also have to be dynamic and flexible as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I can add on to that. So for my research project, we did do some elephant feeding behavior we released the elephant from captive facilities into a forest patch, and we observe what kind of the plants that the elephant choose to eat, and what is available there. By observing that, we noticed the result that elephants really like monocots, they like palms, and possibly that's why there is the conflict between the oil palm plantation and elephants. But that's why the work done by the researchers in Sabah and Peninsula is so important, to try to breach that conflict, trying to move away from that narrative that elephants and oil palm cannot coexist. If we can show that elephants and oil palm can coexist in that area, then I think the oil palm industry will set a standard that is really good to show that we can balance development and conservation of nature at the same time. So I think it's a beautiful message that Malaysia can share with the world.
Absolutely. I think we should be looking at solutions, and especially let's move back into, of course, the most recent case, Dr. Ifin. Now, this isn't, of course, the first time that vehicle-elephant collisions have occurred on that specific highway. Some thoughts around that and mitigation strategies, at least for the near future. Because meanwhile, all the good work is happening in the forests, in the background. Researchers are working on identifying preferences for the elephant's well-being, but also the reality remains that quite often elephants get caught in the middle of the highway. So some thoughts around that.
So in Peninsula Malaysia, yes, we have this issue of elephant vehicle collision from time to time. Some years we have a few cases at one go, and some years there's none. So for the particular case in Greek Jali Highway, that particular stretch of road, I'm quite familiar with it because this is one of my study sites. That road cut across a mountainous range.
Right.
So even in normal circumstances, that road is considered, can be dangerous to drivers if they are tired or they are not paying attention, or if there's rain, the road is slippery. We have seen cars, turning turtle or knock the banks and things like that, even without elephants present on the road. Yeah. So if visibility on that road is low, for example, there's mist or there's not enough light, and with elephants' presence, their behavior is they like to cross the road at night. About 80% of them, of the crossing occurs at night. During daytime, there's about 20% of the crossing,
And of course, the visibility for drivers would, of course, be higher at the morning.
In the morning, so they can react in time. So in this particular case, Greek Jelly Highway, a lot of, uproar, came out from that incident. Everybody is pushing for what is the solution. There's a lot of efforts that have been tested, signboards, flashing LED lights by the authorities, and they even put in a viaduct and all that. But all these measures can help, maybe increase awareness and reduce some of it, but it doesn't resolve or take away the risk completely.
Noted.
Yeah, so because that road is an important road that connects between Perak and Kelantan.
It's a natural crossing in a sense.
So yeah, high number of vehicles and also trucks and all that. So is it okay if I propose what I feel is a good potential solution for this situation? Yeah,
absolutely.
So based on my observation on the ground, I feel perhaps one important step that we could take is actually try to reduce the number of big trucks at night. Reduce the traffic at night can allow, reduce the danger of people driving at a slippery slope or, the high. Oh, so sorry.
Exactly, because also when it comes to the size of these lorries and other big vehicles, they may, of course, naturally be more difficult to control at night with, let's say, a tired driver behind the wheel. When it comes to Perhilitan, for example, and their set of recommended safety instructions, have you noticed also whether or not, in general, we are following all of the recommendations, or is there room for improvement, Dr. Ifin?
I think, yes, for drivers, they're talking about people's behavior. Yeah, whenever you put up a new signboard, maybe they pay attention, but after a while, it becomes part of the landscape and they will ignore the sign.
In a sense, yeah.
So, so that's the part of the challenge. How do we influence people's behavior as they drive through that road? And that road cut across the Belum Temenggung rainforest, meaning both sides of the road there are forests, there are wildlife crossing, many paths along the 120-kilometer highway. So if we can reduce the traffic at night, if we can perhaps suggest that, the large trucks, maybe after certain hours, they have to park at the rest stop, in Bersia, in Greek, or in Jelly, so that we reduce the number of trucks at night along that road. But that also means the light vehicles, they shouldn't start speeding up because the road is clear. So there's also another danger that could happen.
It has to happen concurrently.
Yeah, so we also need to impose some speed limits on the other vehicles so that they will slow down and pay attention to the surroundings. Yes, measures like, making sure they have enough rest, making sure they are vigilant on their surroundings, and if they do encounter elephants, for them to actually slow down and let the elephant pass. Yeah, so all these measures are very important. Yeah.
Exactly. And when it comes together all in an integrated circle, that's perhaps where we actually start to see calculable differences in elephant populations, right? Dr. Farina, could I get some last thoughts from you regarding Borneo elephant conservation before we end?
I think right now the Bornean elephants, I think you might know that it's already listed in the red list, IUCN red list. So we must put all the efforts and put more resources to be able to, because we are dealing, I mean, what happened in Peninsular Malaysia, touch wood, I hope will not happen in Sabah, because we also have a highway that is being developed right now. There are a few stretches that is very sensitive. So we hope that we can learn from what happened in Peninsular Malaysia, and as much as we can put all the, planning starts from now. So I'm very sad that an elephant have to be, sacrificed to teach us a lesson. It's always like that,
Exactly,
It's always ad hoc. And I'm very grateful for the juvenile elephants because he's sacrificed now. We learn so much. It really opened a lot of eyes and heart to do better at conserving elephants. And what I hope that we just don't look them as a wildlife. They are also part of the landscape. They're living creatures like us, and they have a needs that we have to tolerate with them.
Yes, absolutely. Integrating and living together. Thank you very much, Dr. Farina and Dr. Ifan. Well, that's all we have time for today on Niaga Spotlight, looking at conservation efforts for one of our grandest and most precious eco-assets in Malaysia, the Malaysian wild elephant. We'll see you again next week with more economic analysis and insights. Here's to a productive week ahead.